It's so nice to see you both. The sun's actually shining outside my window, but you guys can't see it because we are doing both with young kids. How does it feel? London Film Festival, kind of out there, but you're still doing some things like this. I'll start with you, actually, Edgar. How do you feel about all of this?
Well, no, it's nice to sort of be back at in-person screenings. Like, you know, I did press for my movie earlier in the year, the documentary called The Sparks Brothers, and I think I must have done 100 plus Zooms. And there's a point where, you know, when I would read in the paper, they saying like, people want to work from home on their laptop. I was like, no, I really want to leave the flat. Like, so I really want to get away from my laptop. I can't stare at the screen any longer. So, and I'm a big supporter of the cinema experience. Yeah. And for me, it's like, it's I'm not mandating it in terms of the sense of saying, if you haven't seen this movie on the big screen, you haven't seen it at all. I'm just saying, I feel so passionately about cinema that I would like people to have the opportunity to do that. And so I've been really impressed actually with UK cinemas and what they've done to make the experience safe. And I've been going back a lot. And even actually last weekend, I went to see Bond on a Saturday morning at the Odeon Leicester Square.
I saw you suited and booted, supporting Phoebe. I saw your tweet. I was like, good, he's going.
But you know what? That was great. The royal premiere was great. But what was actually more emotional and impactful to me was watching it with a real audience on a Saturday morning, like in Leicester Square. And I got sort of a bit more emotional. I think I sort of got a bit emotional even when the trailer started. It was like sort of just, it was great being back seeing a film with the public.
Baby, you don't know what you're saying.
So what brings you down then?
I'm studying London College of Fashion.
Room is on the top floor.
It's perfect. I love it. If I could live any place and any time, I'd live here in London in the 60s.
I watched the film 3 days ago, and I'm still thinking about it. I honestly think, no spoilers, guys, but Edgar, for you, and also Krysty, because obviously you've been such a big part of this. I think for you though, Baby Driver, I feel like was the film, critical acclaim, success, box office. I think this film, for me at least, trumps that. Congratulations. This
thank you.
Absolutely unexpected, such a surprise, so very brilliant, so dark, so quickly. Krysty, I have so many questions but limited time. For you to jump on board, I know Soho is a personal place to you. You've worked there, you've lived there. How much were you with the writings like, no, that needs to change a little bit. Like, what was that like?
No, I didn't have to do that very much because Edgar is also a creature of Soho. So yeah, no, I think really to get into the nitty gritty of it was just the two of us mining away at those characters to make them feel real and to make it feel like a journey that at first you want to go on and then the dream becomes a nightmare. And that was just the tightrope, and that was just that was the hard work but also the fun.
Yeah, but it's really interesting because as you're sitting there and watching it, and this is what I haven't had with films for a very long time, so when it happens it's special, you don't see where it's going. I'm leaning in constantly thinking, what is going on here? Edgar, for you, I would like to think this is a labour of love because I understand it's 10 years in the making. Does this one mean so much more that you really want everyone to get behind it? Because I think you've been really brave and really daring, and that cheeky little humour is not really there.
Well, I think in a way, like the way that you just described watching it is almost a similar way that Eloise, the main character, goes on that journey where she's sort of going down the rabbit hole of going back into the past, into something that to her, at least initially, is like a dream come true. I get to go back to the 60s. But it's something like you can't kind of get off the roller coaster once it starts. And so I think that's a thing that we both feel like a lot about. You know, nostalgia is like, the danger of nostalgia is to romanticize the past. And the reality is, as much as people use the phrase the good old days, that there was no decade where everything was great and nothing was bad. And it would be dangerous to kind of suggest otherwise.
Last night, I saw something in my dreams. There was a girl.
I guess the film, in a way, like having lived in London for 27 years and also spent a lot of time in Soho working and also living, like it's something where there's a point where the story is like haunting you. and the only way to like exercise that is to make the movie. So I feel really happy that, you know, we made it, and like, and the whole experience has been even more emotional and poignant than maybe we even intended. Like, two of the actresses in the film are no longer with us. You know, the area itself is even like rapidly changing since we shot it. So it's kind of like, it's bittersweet, but obviously we're really proud of the movie and we can't wait for everybody to see it.
Knowing that you had this in mind 10 years ago, and right now it feels so relevant when we talk about misogyny, we talk about the way women are treated. And Krysty, your voice being one of the writers, I thought was very important, because you know what it's like for us girls to sometimes idolize other women and then also get into really dark places. But the timing is just spooky as hell, guys, because it's very relevant with the conversations I'm having with male friends at the moment about the way we're treated, what we wear when we're out in Soho or in the city. Krysty, for you, were you aware of that part of it and kind of representing the girls?
I mean, I think, you know, when you're writing a horror film or a thriller, you're trying to draw in scary real life experiences that people can relate to. And for me, you know, that's just such a constant thing. You know, what that taxi driver says in the film, people have said to me. What the sleazy pickup line from the bar was a sleazy pickup line that was said to me in that very bar. So I think drawing on those real life experiences, you're trying to create a sense of honesty about that jeopardy that women and men feel on the streets. But I mean, it particularly affects women. And I didn't have to really fight too hard for that at all. A lot of that was already built in the story already, because Edgar's, you know, very empathetic and very kind of tuned in. So it was just a case of the two of us like constantly working to refine that so that you would feel, I suppose, like I said, that honesty in it, and it would never feel like you were pushing it too far in one direction.
I think you pushed it enough for us to feel uncomfortable, and I think that's important. I like it when you guys do stuff like that. Edgar, Anya and Thomasin, I love both of them, and I know Thomasin's done weird films like Old recently, but this is like really pushing it, and they were challenged so much. Talk to me firstly about Thomasin. What is it about her that was just wonderful to have her in this film?
Well, I had the funny thing is that like I'd originally like thought of Anya playing Eloise, and I'd told her about the movie like 6 years ago when I met her for coffee in 2015. But then over the years, I'd seen her in other movies, and she'd been kind of like kind of growing up on screen. And then whilst we were writing, thought, oh, you know, Anya should play Sandie, the 60s one. And then around that point, I think Naira Park, my producer, was the first person to mention Thomasin. She said, have you seen Leave No Trace? And I said, yeah, I loved it. She goes, what about the actress who plays the daughter? And the thing about that film, Leave No Trace by Deborah Granick, is Thomasin McKenzie is so naturalistic in it. You almost imagine that it's like the real daughter that lives in the woods. So once I realized that this was actually a real actress who played that part, it's like, yeah, let's meet her. And as soon as we met her, it was obvious that she was the person to play the part. And I think the thing that makes it so real in a way is that like Thomasin is 18 playing an 18-year-old and comes to London to make the movie in the same way that Eloise comes to London in the movie. And so almost like those two journeys are like inextricably linked for both me and her.
Anya is so wonderful to watch on the big screen. I find her really exciting. I saw the Venice Film Festival, and I know a lot of the press were throwing questions at her, and I thought it was so kind and lovely that she was like, this is a moment for all of us, and she was constantly sharing the light. With her, what is it that makes her so special? Because it seems like there's big things on the horizon for her, and in this film, wow, she was brilliant.
I think she's just got that kind of movie star magic. I don't know how to describe it in terms of it is something that, like, I guess in a similar way to this film, is that it feels like you could slot Anya into like any period in cinema, where she'd be a great silent movie actress. She'd be a great actress in the 30s. She'd be an amazing actress in the 60s. So there's something about her that's so sort of like timeless and special. And I think that's why sort of people, you know, respond to her in terms of that she's incredibly down to earth, and also this kind of like sort of exotic kind of like, you know, bird at the same time. It's sort of amazing. I mean, she's like the nicest, most down to earth person that I've ever worked with and stuff. And yet, you know, what on screen, there's this kind of like she sort of beams this light. It's amazing. You know, I sort of knew she was going to be a megastar. In fact, I recommended her to George Miller for Furiosa because he saw the movie and he'd never seen Anya in anything before. And he goes, hey, what would she like to work with? Because I'm casting Furiosa. I said, stop, you found her. She's going to be huge. So I want 10% of that fee.
Right, if I get to talk to her, I'm going to tell her exactly that point. Guys, thank you so much for the time today. Congratulations. The film's absolutely awesome. I hope everybody goes to cinema and watches it. Krysty, Edgar, have a lovely day. Thanks for the chat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Glad you
Max.
enjoyed it.
You can't save me.